Hey, it's Zane. Welcome back. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for tuning in once again. And before I get started, please take a quick moment to hit the like button. It's a free and easy way to support the channel and to help me get the content out there. Now, in today's video, I want to talk about the path to a $5 million Bitcoin. And this is an interesting conversation because I'm of the belief, and I'm not sure what you think about this, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below. But I'm of the belief that a $5 million Bitcoin, for most people from where we are now, given where we are on the adoption curve, given we know what is going on with this game theory and all of the nation states and governments around the world, institutions, all posturing to acquire Bitcoin at a rapid rate, given that we know that Bitcoin is absolutely fixed and finite, there will never be any more than 21 million. Given all of these realities and this window of opportunity where we are right now, at this crossroads moment in the financial system where we know 95% of the people of this world are still sitting on the sidelines who have no exposure to Bitcoin, we know all of this is going to transform. Everything's going to change. We are in the digital age. Bitcoin is a digital, absolutely scarce, decentralized monetary instrument, and it's the future. And so we have this opportunity now, and I believe that the $5 million trajectory for Bitcoin in terms of you and I setting ourselves up for retirement, never having to work again, worry about money, to have something significant, substantial to pass down to our kids through a Bitcoin succession plan. All of these things are very realistic now because of where we are. And so I want to share some numbers with you real quick today, paint a couple of scenarios to get you thinking. I want you to make sure that you tune in to the Kager calculator, the reverse Kager calculator, which you can Google for yourself and plug in some numbers. But when you start to do that, you start to realize, when you look at Bitcoin's price growth history and you compare it to every other asset class, and you start plugging some numbers in and plotting a plan for yourself for the future, you realize how achievable it really can be for you to get yourself set up for life with Bitcoin. So let's talk about the path to a $5 million Bitcoin. $100,000 today, if you were to put $100,000 into Bitcoin today, and I realize not everybody has access to $100,000, but let's just work with this for the moment. $100,000 today, which is essentially one whole Bitcoin. We know that the Bitcoin price is hovering around that sort of 90, 95,000, but let's call it 100,000 for the sake of this conversation. Bitcoin's compound annual growth rate over the last decade has hovered around 50 to 60%. And so if you put $100,000 into this reverse Kager calculator and you put 50% as the compound annual growth rate, what you find is that in 10 years' time, it's going to be worth around about $5 million. And so the question then becomes, well, what if you don't have $100,000? What if you only have, for the sake of discussion, let's say $10,000, so you can only afford to acquire 0.1, 10% of a Bitcoin? And a lot of people are able to do that. If you can do that, and you can gradually add to your stack, you can dollar cost average in over time, either through regularly allocating a portion of your income, maybe you get some bonuses or some extra revenue from your business from time to time, you could allocate to Bitcoin. Even if you can start with 0.1 and allocate to it over time. With the trajectory that we're on, the compound annual growth rate of Bitcoin, I still believe that it's just a question of time horizon. So for most people, and this is what I say to my kids, like if you're in your 20s and you start with 0.1 and you keep allocating to that over the next 5, 10, 15 years, gradually, whenever you can do so, and you stay disciplined and you don't sell, then in 15 to 20 years, they will also have that $5 million stack. And then the question becomes, well, what do you do with the 5 million, right? And a lot of people are worried about that. They're saying, well, yeah, I'll get all this Bitcoin, but what am I going to do? How am I going to live off it? How am I going to pass it on to? How? And what I try to say to people, because I do one-on-one coaching calls every single week, and people from all walks of life, some are new to Bitcoin, some are already established and looking to just level up their Bitcoin strategy, storage solutions, cold storage, hardware wallets, custody, succession planning, and I kind of guide them on that. Some people are looking to set up a Bitcoin-friendly retirement fund or pension plan through a self-managed super fund. And so I guide them on where to go to get that done correctly. And the reality is, if we get to 5 million, I believe we're going to have a lot of optionality. This Bitcoin space is moving so fast. We have to understand that when we buy Bitcoin on the base layer, we are buying into a transformational monetary protocol that is absolutely scarce. And this is why people like Michael Saylor refer to Bitcoin as digital granite or pristine collateral or digital Manhattan. And there'll only ever be 21 million blocks. So like buying a block of land in Manhattan 200 years ago. And think about all the apartments and the skyscrapers and everything that's been built on top of Manhattan and what the value is of that underlying land underneath all of that. And this is what you're buying when you buy Bitcoin. And so we only get one shot at this, and this is why there are so many people out there. And if you tune into some of the Bitcoin podcasts from people who've been around a while, everybody knows that right now we have a window of opportunity that is not going to last. And if you're paying attention, you'll see what's happening. You'll see what's happening. We know that the fiat debt-based system, we know that it's running on life support. We know that the system died in 2008 with the global financial crisis, and that the only thing that's kept it afloat is currency debasement, quantitative easing, money printing, inflation. And, you know, that system is dying, and the only way that governments around the world can continue to fund their spending programs and their empty promises, the only way they can do that is through money printing. They cannot collect enough taxes to do it because they're all hopelessly in debt. They've all been poorly run for the last 20 years. They've all subscribed to this globalist bullshit agenda and wasted money on God knows what, all these silly programs that aren't real. And so now we have this situation where all they have access to keep the system afloat is the money printer, which essentially is causing inflation, a cost of living crisis, a growing wealth gap. People can't afford to live, to make ends meet. They can't plan for the future. Young people have no hope of ever being able to have a home, which has implications on the family unit, etc., 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 etc. Bitcoin is the opt-out. Bitcoin is the life raft. Bitcoin is the escape hatch. Bitcoin is where you and I get to say enough is enough. It was created for this chaos. It was created on the back of the greatest financial calamity that we've ever seen in our lifetime, which is the GFC. And that didn't happen by accident. And so Bitcoin was released to the world as a protocol in October 2008, a month after the GFC, and the first Genesis block was mined in January 2009. And it's evolved over this time to this point now where the world is coming for Bitcoin. So a $5 million path to Bitcoin is realistic. It is on path with the current trajectory of Bitcoin, its historical compound growth rate. And what I find fascinating about this is that, let's say it takes 10 years. Let's say you manage to acquire one whole Bitcoin today, essentially invest $100,000 into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin continues to track at 50%, and you get 10 years from now and it's worth 5 million. What then? You're going to have so much optionality. We know that banks are coming for Bitcoin. We know that they're going to want to custody Bitcoin. We know that they're going to want to create lending on top of Bitcoin. We know that there are independent companies and institutions, Bitcoin-friendly companies being set up right now, such as the People's Reserve, led by CJ Konstantinos. You can look him up on YouTube. We know companies like Ledden. They are already loaning against people's Bitcoin. So you and I, in the years to come, are going to be able to go to essentially any lender, any bank, anywhere in the world, and if we choose, we can look for the best deal, but we'll be able to post our Bitcoin or a portion of our Bitcoin as collateral in order to generate income. And of course, there'll be interest attached to that, and we'll have to engage in collaborative custody, which essentially means that the bank is going to have first, or the lender will have a mortgage over your Bitcoin, so to speak, in the same way as that a bank has a first security over your family home if you have a mortgage. And so some people will choose to do it that way, and for as long as they're able to pay the interest on the loan, they will be able to preserve and still own their Bitcoin. And so that'll be an option. There'll be people who say, well, you know what, if I've got 5 million, I'm going to take $1 million off the table, and depending on what jurisdiction you're in and what's going on in the world at that time and the tax rules, etc., you'll either have to pay capital gains on that or you won't, and you'll let $4 million ride at the ensuing compound annual growth rate, whatever that might be at that time. But what I find really interesting, and I just plugged in some numbers to the CAGR calculator this morning, in years 11 to 20, so let's say we get to 10 years, it's 5 million, and let's say at that time Bitcoin's CAGR drops from 50% to 25%. So essentially, let's say that it gets cut in half just because of where we are on the adoption curve, and everything levels out, matures, plateaus, economies of scale, etc. And so let's say we go from 50% to 25% CAGR in 10 years from now. If you've still got that $5 million exposed to Bitcoin's growth trajectory, even at 25%, by year 20, it's going to be worth $37 million. And so this is why if you get to 5 million, even if it's 10 years or 15 years from now, you're never going to have to worry about money again. You're going to have so much optionality. You're going to be able to have a Bitcoin succession plan. You're going to be able to sell down some of your Bitcoin if you choose to fund your retirement and your lifestyle. But you're going to have a damn good life. I mean, you might choose to sell down, say, $200,000 a year for the first 5 years, which will take care of $1 million. But you'll have $4 million still exposed to the compound annual growth rate of Bitcoin, which is going to continue to be very attractive because it is absolutely scarce. It is a fixed and finite monetary instrument, and we have 8 billion people in the world who are all going to want Bitcoin. And they won't be able to buy Bitcoin, but they'll be able to buy and acquire and store their value in Satoshis, because there's 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin. And so this is the whole conversation I want you to really consider, is the path to 5 million Bitcoin. Get a hold of that reverse CAGR calculator, plug some numbers in for yourself. If you're not at one whole Bitcoin and you can't find or put your hands on $100,000 worth of capital today to look forward to this kind of growth over the next 10 years with a potential 5 million, then maybe your time horizon needs to be 15 to 20 years. And this is what I say to young people like my kids who are in their 20s. Get to 0.1 Bitcoin and then gradually add to your stack over the next 15 to 20 years, and you will also get to 5 million and never have to work again. And so, the problem today is we're so caught up in price movements of today, and everybody needs instant gratification. Nobody wants to stay the course with anything. But now we need to move more to a future focus, I believe, because we have such an opportunity here that is not going to last. And, it's my job to help you understand, if you're already holding Bitcoin, just how potent that asset is and how the world is going to want it, which is going to drive the value of it. And this is why I keep saying that acquiring Bitcoin is just step number one. Step number two is to ensure by hook or by crook, you hold on to that Bitcoin. You don't get shaken out of the market. You don't let any fear, uncertainty, and doubt to creep into your mind whatsoever. And then step number 3 is to ensure that nobody ever gets their hands on your Bitcoin. And that just means that you need to pay attention to the right security protocols and cold storage solutions. But a $5 million Bitcoin is very realistic. If you have a 10 to 15 to 20 year time horizon, depending on how much you can allocate to Bitcoin and how much you can stay the course, and just continue to DCA, dollar cost average in, over the course of months and years, and you will get there. There's nothing surer in my mind that we will get there if we just stay the course and understand what is happening around the world and how transformative Bitcoin is and why it was created and all of the problems that it solves. We're going to wake up one day and we're going to see that one Satoshi, there's 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin, one Satoshi is going to equal 1 cent. At that point, Bitcoin is going to be worth $1 million. We're then going to wake up another day and one Satoshi is going to be equal to 10 cents. And at that time, Bitcoin is going to be equal to $10 million. And then we'll wake up a little time after that and one Satoshi is going to be equal to $1. We will have Satoshi dollar parity. It's going to happen. It may not happen in our lifetime, but I'd certainly believe it's going to happen in our kids' lifetime, that we will have Satoshi dollar parity. And at that point, one Bitcoin is going to be worth $100 million. And this is why I like to say to people, think of Satoshis as dollars, future-based dollars. If you buy 1 million Satoshis today, it'll cost you $1,000. 1 million Satoshis, $1,000. And in the future, I'm of the firm belief, as many others are, that if we get a Satoshi dollar parity, that 1 million sats is going to be worth $1 million. And so this is a mindset game. Bitcoin is a mindset game. It's built for discipline. It's built for staying the course, for being resilient, and for staying on path. And I want you guys to get to 5 million. If I can help you set up a plan so that you can look to the future with that in mind, please book a call with me. I do calls every single week. Everybody gets tremendous value out of the calls that I do. Whatever your situation, I know that I can help you. You'll see the link in the show notes. Feel free to do that if that's of interest to you. Other than that, leave a comment for me in the show note, in the video below. Anything to do with this content today, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Other than that, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part of my community, and I'll see you in the next one. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. This is Zane signing out.